Hello, I'm here with Anthony Petteford, industry veteran. Anthony, you've held senior roles in leadership on quite a few ATOs over the years, but you're currently in an independent role, which is ideal. It means you've got nothing to sell, so we can ask you some really independent advice. And I guess the main question I'd like to ask you is, how do people coming to the show go about making a proper fact-based decision on choosing their ATO, choosing their training provider?
Well, yeah, thank you for that glowing introduction. I'll do my best to answer that question.
Thank you.
Indeed, there must be some science brought to all of this because whilst there is subjectivity, what I advise people to do in that form of science to create a decision matrix. Very simply, list on the left-hand side maybe 10 areas which are important to you. So that might be in terms of the experience of instructors, the fleet, the service, the post-training support, and so forth. And on the top, to list the ATOs that are your favourites. Go and visit those ATOs, interrogate them, gather as much information as you possibly can, and then give them a score. So a score against that particular item. Once you've got all the scores in the boxes, add them all up, and that will help you some way to enabling you to make a decision which is a balance between your heart and your head.
So how much, I mean, is this, in your experience, do most people choose their ATOs like that, or do they err towards kind of the heart rather than the head?
I think it's a mix, really. I think there's clearly an emotional element to it, and so one is easily drawn into looking at all the great aeroplanes and the sexy environment. But then I think people are now thinking very carefully, particularly around the financial side of things, and I think those areas are now starting to get much greater scrutiny, which is a good thing, of course.
Absolutely. So, once let's say you end up with your decision matrix and you have three leading candidates, presumably you'd advise people to actually go and visit those in person.
Yeah, look, I think it's a blended position. So you gather the scores from having visited them in the first place. Maybe just go and have a look around in a very sort of high-level activity. And once you've got down to the shortlist, go back and start interrogating and start to get right to the heart of things and really get the devil is in the detail. And once you've got that, I think you'll find that it will work out as being a sensible, balanced decision.
Okay, and in your days when you were in the leadership team of ATOs, how did you work it for the payment? We kind of advise people not to pay everything up front because it's clearly a large risk. What are kind of common ways of ATOs managing their payments?
Yeah, I mean, times are obviously different. And but the way we did it was look at a sort of fair and balanced position. So you are looking inevitably on for example, on a full-time course, at having to pay a deposit, but now that needs to be a sensible number and not a huge amount up front. And then largely the ATOs are looking at redistributing the balancing payments over the duration of the course rather than actually seeing huge amounts up front. So I think the ATOs have now started to better understand that it's a managed cash flow as opposed to pre-COVID where a lot more was paid in advance.
Okay, thank you very much.